something that's workable, and add these other things later. You can always add them next year, of course. So you can always build on scenarios. Yes, I agree with that comment, Jeffrey. It does have to have a specific learning purpose. Otherwise, it can detract.
And that should have actually been speak rather than Sophie.
As an example, can you estimate how long the ethics one took? Right, that's a good question, Carol. That one took a long time. That one, it's quite a deep scenario, and there is a lot of video in that. We had a grant to do that one. We had a certain amount of dollars and a certain amount of time set aside. So that's an example, probably a scenario at one end of the spectrum where there's been a lot of development effort that's been put into it. Makes it a very interesting scenario, and people, students that go through it find it quite engaging. But it is one where if that grant money didn't exist, if you had to do something relatively quickly, it wouldn't have quite been as rich as it was. But we had the time and we had the money, and hence, it is pretty much a drama. Anyone else got any comments or anything they'd like to say about scenario-based learning? Has anyone else used SBLI? Anyone in the audience? Jeffrey has. I find it a pretty useful piece of software. It contains some of the some of the design concepts in it were ones that Jeff and I, University of Queensland and I worked on together. It's reasonably straightforward to author in, I find it makes that getting the scenario to an electronic form, relatively plain.
Terry, this is Jeff again, just talking about SBLI in particular. And again, yes, one of the things that I particularly liked about it and why we're exploring its use at Adelaide is that it's relatively straightforward to use to get people to build a fairly simple scenario with, to get them thinking about the whole issue of scenario-based learning and why they might want to use it and what pedagogical value it will have with their students. And because one of the things that we find with a lot of software is that some very complex software, which is great, but it has such a steep learning curve that even when someone wants to do an introductory thing, they just get put off because it's just so hard and they have to learn so many things to do before they can actually get something up and running. And so one of the things I like about something like SBLI is it's fairly easy to get up and running fairly quickly. Then, if you want to do more complex things, you can dig into it a bit more, and then you realise that there's a whole lot of other things that you can do inside there as well. But it doesn't put you off when you first start doing something with it. That's one of the things I particularly liked about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. You can get started very easily, and that's something that I say to academics that I'm supporting here that have an interest in scenario-based learning and using SBLI. I always say to them, we're all very busy. So start small, and some people come in and they're very enthusiastic and they've got this huge ambitious scenario that they want to throw at students. It's worth a huge percentage of marks and it's going to be the backbone of the course. And they've never taught this way before and they've never used the software before. And, I always just caution them that, my approach would be to start small, have a lesson with quite a limited objective, trial it in there, run your scenario, develop it. It doesn't matter if it's quite small. It will just give you experience in that paradigm and using the software. And of course, once you've got the nucleus of something, you can always expand it up.
And of course, the scenarios can also be an excuse for further discussion as well, because it's simple. It normally brings up a whole lot of other issues that can be discussed via another mechanism. So it's also useful for that, I think.
Yeah, sure. People have used them here as discussion tools. In fact, I walk my students through one diagnostic scenario, and that's that's used as a visual aid essentially. So we go through it in the lecture, and I'll get to various points, and I'll just say to them, okay, it's a past question. What would you do now, and why would you do it? What's your assessment of the situation, and do you think we should undertake this test? And let's have a class discussion about it. So yeah, you can look at these scenarios and think, gee, well, I can use that as an online scenario over the web for students. But you can also, they're also quite useful, in a face-to-face tutorial.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also where we need to look at a lot of the technologies that we currently use, that we're sort of thinking about, well, this will be done in an asynchronous way, or, the students will just go off and do whatever. And we can certainly use those in a synchronous way as well, for discussion points, or to get students to work on things in groups, even in a synchronous way. So I think we should get more imaginative about the way we use some of the techniques that we have.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, any last comments that people want to make? Because I noticed there's still quite a few people here. Otherwise, we might close off in a minute. But I don't want to cut the discussion if people have still got things that they want to talk about. Okay, looks like people are probably happy to start going off now. So Terry, once again, I just want to say thank you very much, and also thank you everyone for coming along, and to keep an eye on the Transforming Assessment website, because we've got still more interesting and useful webinars coming up. So thanks very much for your participation, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Matthew? That's exactly what I was just about to say. So thanks, Matthew.
Well, I hope that was you.